Thank you. Good afternoon. It is February the 25th. It is Wednesday, and Tiger tipping off right about now. The tournament, we'll find out. And Billy Joe Risner, who is one of the best defense lawyers in the town, who took the Democratic Party into court to fight over the RTA vote in 2006. We'll talk about the Attorney General taking possession of the ballots from 2006 and whether they will be counted again and whether we will actually eventually know whether that election was rigged in 2006. Well, the RTA, the Regional Transportation Authority, voting in 2006 authorized additional sales tax monies to, well, bring in $2 billion in transportation funding over the next 20 years. But was the election rigged? Bill Risner, who represented the Democratic Party in Pima County, said it's very possible it was. And now the State Attorney General's office has court permission to take control of the ballots from 2006 Regional Transportation Authority election. Well, what's going to happen now? We'll talk with Bill Risner next on the John C. Scott Talk Show. Well, the ballots and related polling records for the May 2006 Regional Transportation Authority election ordered Monday turned over to the Attorney General, Terry Goddard, for criminal investigation into whether the results were manipulated. Goddard obtained that order, taking possession of the ballots from Pima County Treasurer Beth Ford. Here is the defense attorney that represented the Democratic Party who looked into wrongdoing of the 2006 election and found some, and might even have found a criminal act. Here's Bill Risner. Mr. Risner, are you happy that the Attorney General now has the ballots and apparently is going to continue this investigation?
Well, I'm not sure how happy to be. I'm certainly glad that he's involved, and I hope that he looks at the ballots. That's what we wanted him to do for 2 years now. On the other hand, we were days away from an agreement to look at poll tapes, which were public records that were apparently in the same boxes with the ballots. And Terry's sort of secret proceedings in moving those away, causes concern for us.
All right, wait a minute. I've got to have some clarification. I don't know what a poll tape is.
Yeah, here's the thing. At each precinct, when you put in your ballot, there's an optical scan machine that scans the ballot and drops it in a box below. And then the results from that ballot scan are end up in a memory card. The optical scanner has a little memory card. And so when the polls close for the day, they then print out from that memory card, and it's something like a tape you'd see from an adding machine at a store or something. And that printout has on it the number of ballots that have been processed and the number of votes, so that you can see, okay, in this precinct, Obama got so many votes and McCain got so many votes. And then there are three people at the precinct that actually signed their name to that poll tape. And part of our examination of what went on is we want to examine those poll tapes to see if they matched up with final results. And the reason that we want to do that is we looked at the database from the election and saw that the results from each precinct from the memory cards were downloaded on election night, but were downloaded a second time up to 3 days later for lots of precincts. And to download those the second time, what they had to do was delete from the data the numbers from election night and then download again with presumably different numbers. We want to see whether those numbers compare with the numbers on the signed poll tape.
Now, will the poll tapes go with the ballots to the Attorney General's office?
Apparently. We've certainly asked that we still have access to them. And in fact, I sent a letter, I guess it was last Monday, to the 18th in any event, but whatever that was, to Goddard saying, look, we're going to go in and get these poll tapes, and we want you to come and participate because we don't want to contaminate evidence that you might need in a criminal investigation. because there really are two, parallel investigations. One, as a political party, we're trying to find out what went on in that election, what they were doing, so that we can understand what kind of manipulations may have occurred. And we also pointed out to him that printed poll tape itself can be false because the memory card can be programmed. There was a movie called on HBO called Hacking Democracy, where a computer expert from Finland named Harry Hursty pointed out that the memory card that we use in Pima County, that you can put negative votes in. You can program this thing in advance. Say, I want 200 negative votes, so that then when someone comes and votes for that person, then it's attributed to the other candidate, so that then when you print it out, it's a false printout. But Harry Hursty is willing to work with the Pima County Democratic Party to look at those poll tape printouts, and there are clues as to whether or not the poll tape itself was rigged. And so we explained that to Terry, and fortunately he, I guess, concluded that maybe it was time to look at the ballots. But why he's doing it in the sense of what his plans are, we don't know. We know he has a history of working with the suspects to frustrate the investigation, so we can only hope that he's now decided to play it straight.
Well, you're talking about working with the Board of Supervisors, right? Or who are the suspects he's working with?
Well, the suspects were the Pima County Election Department, and the last, what he called an investigation, which was really a whitewash, is he looked at part of the database and only ran tests that were suggested by John Moffett, who worked for the county. So the suspect said, hey, run this test, run the next test, run this test. But those tests were designed not to give accurate answers. Those tests were designed for them to look in the wrong place, and they knew they could pass the test.
Well, okay,
and everything that we've looked at is consistent with that. In other words, when we look at the database and these other things, we can say, okay, in a normal election where they're not fooling around, here's what happens. And we can see that election after election, that's what they did. Then we look at this election and say, whoa, this is different. They've downloaded these things. They've had memory card failures. And Harry Hursty pointed out that when you rig the memory card, it's pretty tricky. And that if you get a few things wrong, then the cards will what they call fail and don't work properly. So in normal elections, there's almost never a memory card failure. Yet we had maybe 130 memory card failures in the RTA election. Things that make no sense in the normal operation of the system.
Now, there's a memory card for every precinct, right?
Exactly.
And you had 130 failures of 130 precincts in memory cards?
I think that may be off for a few numbers.
Well, I'll give you a few numbers, but how many precincts are there in Pima County?
There's 410 precincts.
So 1 out of 1 of 4 is you had a problem with the memory card.
Yeah. And in the election last fall, a complicated election with lots of offices, there was maybe one memory card problem.
By the way, what's the take of the Republican Party? We're going to have Bob Westerman, chair of the Pima County Republican Party, with us in studio on Monday or Tuesday, at least the first 2 days of next week, one or the other. Where are they on this?
Well, they're in two different places. In the court, they've been urging the judge, saying that the ballot should be destroyed. But that's their legal position based on how they see the law. Fortunately, Bob Westerman last week sent a pretty strong letter to Attorney General Goddard, saying that the Republican Party wanted him to take control of the ballots and wanted to have them counted. So we're glad now that they've joined the Democratic and the Libertarian parties. The Libertarians have been with us all along in recognizing that it's important to know what happened.
Caller Steve is on our phone line. Steve, welcome to the John C. Scott Show. You're with Tucson attorney Bill Risner. Go ahead, Steve.
Hi, thanks, gentlemen. First of all, let me say this. I think that this whole process discussion is just stupid. They ought to just count the blasted ballots. I mean, my God, the answer is there. Just get to it and quit wasting everyone's time and money. But my question is not that. My question is, what's being lost in this whole discussion of process is what were the results of the election, what was funded, and what would be the result if the election were overturned in terms of what would be defunded. Can you address that?
Well, nothing would change because the election would stay no matter whether it was rigged or not, and the RTA money would continue to flow, right, Bill? I mean, this would change nothing. It would indicate that it was rigged, but it's far beyond that point of return here. I mean, of going back saying, well, it was rigged, we're going to take away the money, right?
Yeah, we've not filed an election challenge, and the statute, at least on election challenges, requires that be filed within 5 days. So the legislature has set a short time period, and it's actually impossible. It is absolutely impossible to file a challenge. You have to do it with particular points. You have to show that the outcome would have been different, and you need to do that within 5 days. But you can't get the database. You can't look at the ballots. And when we tried to get just the database, it took 1.5 years in court. So obviously no one ever could challenge any election, which is why we went to court wanting prospective relief. We wanted the judge to order them to scan ballots, to do that or something else that would prevent cheating in the future. Because the way the system is set up now, any election department can cheat and never, ever be challenged.
All right, Steve, thanks for your call. Nothing would change as far as the RTA money flowing from the additional sales tax, and the projects would go on as apparently announced. Very quickly, say specifically what you want the Attorney General to do. What's the best outcome for you? What's the worst outcome that would result here?
Well, the best outcome is for him to have an open counting process that the political parties participate in, so that we can be assured that these are the original ballots and that they're counted. And in addition, that we be able to get and examine the poll tape, so even if it was or wasn't rigged, we want to find out what was going on there, because we need to learn we need to learn about these processes.
And the worst outcome is what? Count the ballots, not the poll?
Well, the worst outcome is for him to announce that he's looked at it and everything's fine.
There you go. All right, can you appeal that decision?
Maybe, because we have an appeal in the Court of Appeals, and the ballots still exist, so he can't be destroying them. So it's a problem.
Bill Risner, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Bill Risner, a defense attorney, and then defending the Democratic Party and their attempts to find out if the RTA election was rigged. If it was rigged, it wouldn't change the outcome of that 2006 balloting, but it would perhaps stop other elections from being fixed, rigged.
Security expert Harri Hursti from Finland. Harri realized that every vote is stored on a memory card before the totals are printed. So if you can hack the memory cards, you can control an election.
The reliability has to be very, very close to the source of the information. In that environment, the only possibility was the memory card.
Harri wanted to find out what exactly was inside the debold ballot box. And so he bought a memory card reader off the internet. Within a couple of days, he found that the cards didn't just contain votes. There was a program or executable code.
Well, if someone would have told me that in this system there is a living thing, an executable, modifiable program stored in the same place as the very data which is the most secure in this system, I would say you have to be misunderstanding something, crazy or lying.
Hari wrote a report for black box voting, warning that this program, lurking in the memory card, could be used to change the result of an election.
What happened after that was that Diebold basically dismissed and stonewalled the report.
Diebold sent letters to officials across America denying that there was any executable code on the memory cards. Hari had discovered that Diebold's memory cards effectively allowed negative votes.
Well then, go dead. What we're going to do here is modify one card and then bring it to the election supervisor Iyer Sanchez's office. Plug it as the real card in any election to the real election system and run ballots through, and that's the same system which have been used in a number of previous elections. And we'll see that what is the power in the ballot box. This should be just an empty box containing the votes, but it has more capabilities than that. So it's a very simple process. You just add the card in, you run the rewrite program, tell where to find the scanner, and tell exactly what file you want to be put in, and off it goes.
Hari's hack is a variation on stuffing the ballot box before anyone has voted. But this is always suspicious because you end up with more votes than voters. So Hari used 5 negative votes for one candidate and then gave the other one 5 positive votes. So as people cast their ballots, the total number of votes always equals the total number of voters. But was Hari right? Black box voting went back to Tallahassee for the ultimate test. Bev asked Susan Pynchon from Volusia County to observe. She too had found evidence of problems with the memory cards while sifting the trash from the Volusia County Board of Elections.
This is from Mark Early of Diebold, and it says, how did the number of memory card failures on election day increase from the 17 reported on November 3rd to 25? I don't know if we'll ever know why these memory cards failed, or if, see, one of the big questions in my mind is, did they actually fail? Or could they have been used for other purposes?
Hi, how are you doing, Susan? What we're going to do today, we have constructed a mini election, but Harry Hersey, as you have served as a technical advisor of how to do this, we're going to ask you to remain outside. After you, let me introduce you to my election staff. To ensure that we've not prepared some sort of a device that has been pre-rigged, pick the number, and then we'll grab that unit, and that will be the device that we will count the ballots on.
I just feel like this is the one.
Okay, and the winner is unit 15191. 5191. What we have here is a programmed optical scan ballot. There is only one question on this ballot. Can the votes on the Diebold system be hacked using the memory card?
I have only touched the memory card, not the other parts of the Diebold election system, which is going to be used today. Only the memory card.
I can certainly speak for myself and Harry, and that we're going to vote yes.
All right, then let's have the rest of us vote no. 2 individuals, Hugh and Harry, will be voting yes. The rest of us will be voting no. And then we'll scrutinize the ballots afterwards to ensure that that is indeed the mark.
I will say that I'm wrong and Diebold is right, and I'm going to say no, they cannot be hacked.
It's impossible. So I vote no.
I'm going to film myself voting.
Excuse me.
I'm going to mark this ballot no. Dr. Thompson?
I am going to mark this ballot yes. I've seen some pretty concerning things.
Well, it's down to you. You're the last voter, Harry.
All right. I think it could be. So I vote for yes.
You will be the second yes.
All right. Here is the memory card I have touched.
Okay. Now, this is the only piece of Diebold equipment that you've used.
That's correct.
Well, thank you. Let me take your ballot in. This card will go into this slot. The next activity that the election worker does on the morning of the election is turn the machine on, making it live to receive votes. When you do that, this machine will produce what is called a zero total tape. The machine is going through a self-test analysis, and then it will spontaneously turn on. This is Harry's card that is telling us that there are 0 votes stored in the memory. Okay, let me get the ballots. Let's insert a yes ballot. We're going to put in another no. 7. And the last no ballot, 8. Placing the ender card in this device and telling it to turn off its counting function and do its reporting function will now cause the voting machine to print out a tape reading the number of votes that it had just read. Oh my.
Oh no!
What is it? What is it?
7 yes, 1 no.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh! Let me see.
Here's the tape.
7 people said it could be hacked.
And we put through 6 and 2.
6
no's
no's and 2 yeses.
Oh my gosh! Do you know what this means?
How do we know that Harry didn't just change the report and the votes themselves on the memory card are still correct? If that was the case, when they go into GEMS, the results would be different, isn't that right?
I mean, the only way to know that is to read them into GEMS and to check the vote totals.
See what GEMS says. So should we do that?
I think we should, because I want to confirm for my own analysis, is this just a superficial
Right, that's a good
hack? In other words,
question.
did we just change the words on this paper? And we will upload this memory card if I had not seen what was behind this, I'd have no reason not to. I would have certified this election as a true and accurate result of a vote.
Susan, what does this mean for you?
It makes me cry. I'm sorry, but it does.
Why? Why?
There's so many reasons. The reason's because there are people out there who are giving their lives to try to make our elections secure, and they're being called conspiracy theorists and technophobes, and these vendors are lying and saying that everything's all right, and it's not all right. And I'm crying because I'll quote somebody that I know who said that this is no, our country's one country pretending to be another country. How can this be happening to our elections? The really doesn't